Occult Confessions is brought to you commercial-free through the generous support of our patrons. Visit occultconfessions.com and click on Donate to help keep the history of the occult on the digital airwaves. Okay, this is part 2 of our conversation about Krishnamurti. My name is Dr. Rob C. Thompson. I am here with John Cook.
Hello.
And Savannah Barrett.
Hello.
And you guys, how you feeling about Krishnamurti?
Love him.
Already.
Already.
Honestly, yeah, this story has already been super interesting. I was sad that we had to stop last time. We had to go do our Halloween show, like literally up to the wire. It was like, oh, we gotta go out in the field right now.
Can't we talk about him some more?
It put me in the right mindset.
I mean, I had planned
things.
to do a couple episodes on the history of Krishnamurti, but I think it may actually take us 3 because we're stopping to talk about things. I wanted to do a quick quote from Krishnamurti based on part of the conversation we had last time. We were talking at some length, I don't know if you guys remember this, about imperfections and how there's nothing we should do about it. So I looked in his book, and this is what he had to say about this. Through self-knowledge, through constant awareness, you will find that strife, battle, the conflict of becoming leads to pain, to sorrow and ignorance. It is only if you are aware of inward insufficiency and live with it without escape, accepting it wholly, that you will discover an extraordinary tranquility, a tranquility which is not put together, made up, but a tranquility which comes with understanding of what is. Only in that state of tranquility is there creative being. Does that help at all? I think I pretty much characterized this attitude, right? It's about presence, really. We got to chill out.
Just accepting that nobody's perfect, you'll never will be.
Yeah. When we constantly think about ourselves as imperfect and something that we need to keep working on, it distracts from our ability to be at peace. And it's only when we're at peace, says Krishnamurti, that we can be truly open and creative. He talks about creativity quite a bit.
Okay.
That's probably another reason why we like him so much.
Yeah, we'll like him more and more, I think. We haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet. John, you think, does that help? Or you struggled with a bit last time?
Yeah, I'm still working with it.
You want to do that self-improvement.
It's not even that. It's just how does it impact your relationships with others? You know what I mean?
Others who want you to improve.
Yeah, because if you're doing something and the way you are is impacting someone that you can't really like a family member or something like that, and they are having an issue with something you're doing, you can't just be like, well, it's who I am, so deal with it.
Yeah.
You can, but I might not go over super well.
Let's pledge it out. We the members of the secret order of alchemical actors, do solemnly commit ourselves to a full and honest telling of the history of the occult as far as we know it. All right, so when we left off, Krishnamurti had just arrived in Ojai, California, which is going to become an important site for him for the rest of his life, and an important site in general. It's going to direct not only, it's going to center a lot of the action in today's episode and the next one, but it's also going to be a place we revisit when we talk about Krishnamurti's good friend Aldous Huxley, the novelist most known for Brave New World, who met him while he was going blind in Ojai. Not Krishnamurti, Huxley was going blind. But anyway, that's for another time. I want to mention Patty Dubroff. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right there, Patty. Patty's a listener on Instagram who lives in Ojai. And Patty, I'd been thinking about doing a series on Krishnamurti, but Patty sort of pushed me along, sent a message saying, oh, can we really get something about, the events in Ojai? So here we go. The brothers left Sydney and in August arrived in Ojai, where Krishnamurti would undergo the most significant spiritual transformation of his life. Albert Warrington, the general secretary for the American section of the Theosophical Society, had suggested that they travel to Ojai, where he had a cottage, because the climate would be good for Nietzsche's consumption. So let me remind folks, it's been a couple weeks. Krishnamurti's brother Nietzsche is suffering from tuberculosis. And this is in part what is driving their travel. So their travel is driven by Krishnamurti's commitments with the Theosophical Society. It's also driven by Nietzsche's changing health.
And this is what time period again?
This is the 1910s.
That's a really bad thing to have in the 1910s, isn't it?
It's a bad thing to have, yeah, in general. My grandmother, I think I mentioned this last episode, it's 1920, sorry. She had tuberculosis, and she survived, but she caught it during the Korean conflict. So that was the late 40s. So that just goes to show you, right? It was still my grandmother was a disabled American vet her whole life. She got excellent benefits and lived to 80. Considering she smoked all the time, that's pretty good. But she was a disabled American vet because she had tuberculosis. She was otherwise perfectly fine. Oh. But she had tuberculosis during the war, so she was considered a disabled American vet for the rest of her life.
Interesting.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah.
Isn't tuberculosis the one where a lot of doctors recommended you move to like a drier climate?
Back in the day, that's what they did, yeah.
Like California.
Mm-hmm. So good old Albert Warrington has got the solution here. The boys were relatively isolated in Ojai. They were accompanied by Warrington and visited by a liberal Catholic vicar general, Bishop Walton.
A what? A what?
A vicar general.
What does that mean?
He conducts wars and also mass.
Oh.
No, that's not what it means.
I have no idea. I'm asking you.
He's like a general vicar. He's a general vicar. He's not a vicar general. He's a general vicar.
It's like the attorney general.
Yeah, he's in charge of vicaring for California. He does all the vicaring.
I'm so confused. Okay.
Maybe
Keep going.
let's not worry about it. So this is Walton. Also an American girl named Rosalind. All were present the night of Friday, August 17th. She was just hanging out.
She's just there.
American girls just stop by sometimes.
I like the name Rosalind, though.
Yeah, it's a pretty name. It's a pretty name. So all were present the night of Friday, August the 17th, when Krishna had his first major mystical experience. We seem to have been first. Because
wasn't he talking to the master and shit before?
Doesn't count. Not major enough. Just going on astral journeys to meet the ascended lodge of the white the masters is not
so any asshole can do that.
Yeah, really. In a Theosophical Society, literally any asshole is doing that. But this is different.
Okay.
We seem to have been transported to a world where gods again walked among men. This is what Nietzsche said of this night. Krishnamurti went to a fit of trembling and shivering like a malaria patient, except that he complained of the heat. Warrington, his host, perceived that Krishna's body was going through some process directed or mediated by forces from another plane of being. Krishna wanted Rosalind close to him, but would push her away every time the heat came back on him. He couldn't keep down food, but he slept through the night, and the next day, after his bath, the fit returned, and it reached a climax on the third day, which was a Sunday. He talked of Ojai and Annie Besant, and how he wanted to go to India. "I don't know where I am," he said. "Why have they brought me here?" He said he wanted to walk alone, but the party talked him out of it, seeing as he was in no physical shape to accomplish it safely. But Krishnamurti was badly unsettled and restless. Sitting on the veranda in the twilight, Warrington persuaded him to sit under a pepper tree. Now.
A pepper tree?
Yeah, there you go.
He's got one in the backyard?
Well, all my gardeners out there will be, informing their friends at this moment, if you happen to listen with friends, and you should. This is a social podcast. That peppers don't grow on trees.
Okay.
They grow on little plants about 2 feet tall. This is not
So a pepper bush.
It is a tree.
Oh.
But it is a peppercorn tree because you can't meditate under a 2 foot tall plant. Also, you'll knock it down.
Like the vegetable, right?
Yeah, the actual peppers are very small plants. But a peppercorn tree.
Where they make like the spice pepper.
Yeah. The peppercorns. Have you ever seen? You got it in your salad and you crunch down and you're sad. Yeah,
yes.
Peppercorns. So that's what a pepper tree is. The pepper tree is a California native. Produces berry-like fruits that taste like peppercorns. A look of great relief came over the tortured Krishnamurti as he sat under the tree. And he said, "Why didn't you set me out here before?" So he's been suffering for 3 days. And as soon as he sits under the peppercorn tree, he says, how come you didn't put me here? How come I haven't been here all along?
What compelled that guy to suggest that in the first place?
Well, no, Krishnamurti he wandered out, and they were like, "No, you can't just wander off because, you're having fits and spasms and fevers and, vomiting and all this. Just sit under the tree." It was sort of like a moment of inspiration. It's sort of like just chill out, you know?
Oh.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's, I don't know, have you ever been out like on vacation or something and somebody has heat stroke and they need to like, you need to like douse them with water and you just sit them down?
Yeah.
I think it's sort of like that. You're just like, man, don't wander off. Just sit under the tree.
Oh.
Krishna began to chant, and it reminded Nietzsche of the Buddha under the Bodhi tree. I mean, this is an iconic image, right?
Yeah.
So now he's sitting under a tree, meditating and achieving this peaceful state. As the party watched Krishna from a distance, Nitya said that the place seemed to be filled with a great presence, and Rosalind's face changed as she witnessed the presence of the Bodhisattva, with a clairvoyance that the other two did not have. So she's the only one who can see this supernatural being approaching Krishnamurti. Everyone feels that, you know, serious stuff is going on. But Rosalind, for some reason, has this otherworldly sense, and she can see the Bodhisattva.
So she wasn't there for no reason.
She was there for, we could talk about synchronicity. Like, she was placed there for, she's also a spooky girl, right? Like, she wants to hang out with these kinds of characters.
That's true, too.
So there's that sociological factor, but yeah, also, you know, she was the only one who could. She said, "Do you see him? Do you see him?" She asked the others. Everyone heard a sound like celestial music far off in the distance, and they passed 30 minutes this way until the music stopped and it was over. Rosalind remembered nothing of what she experienced after it was over, and the men had to remind her what she had seen. Yeah.
And did she remember after or she still was like, oh, I have no
whoa,
idea.
That's weird. That was weird that happened. Yeah, she's almost like in a trance state.
Whoa.
Yeah. And every night afterwards, Krishnamurti sat under the pepper tree to meditate. In his own account of this experience, Krishna said that he felt he had to harmonize himself with the Buddhic plane and discover what his ego sought on this higher plane of being. Earlier that day, he described seeing a man fixing the road and feeling an intense oneness with all things. Just a guy, like, paving the sidewalk. There was a man mending the road, he said. That man was myself. The pickaxe he held was myself. The very stone which he was breaking up was part of me. The tender blade of grass was my very being, and the tree beside the man was myself. So he's having this yogic revelation that Brahman is Atman, right? That the outside is inside and the inside is outside. I am you, you are me, everything is me, I am everything. Before he sits under the tree. Under the pepper tree, he felt himself going out of his own body and saw himself and the star over his head. He said, "Then I could feel the vibrations of the Lord Buddha. I beheld Lord Maitreya and Master K.H. Kuthumi. I was so happy. The presence of the mighty beings was with me for some time, and then they were gone." Wow. He wrote to Ledbetter Besant and Lady Emily. He described a long spell of unhappiness, which he now felt had passed or was passing. He said he was more sensitive now and more clairvoyant. He took to referring to himself in the third person as K, and his friends called him Krishnaji, the suffix being a term of endearment. So he undergoes this complete transition of personality. It sounds a little pretentious, I guess, but the ego has so been displaced that now he only talks about himself in the third person, or during this phase he talks about himself in the third person. I think he overcomes this over time, but immediately after he has this experience, he talks about K. K says this, K does this, K's going over here. Whew. And you guys were worried about him, and how he felt and whether he was sad. He was sad up until this point. Now he's beginning to realize his purpose in life. Everything that, friends and theosophists and Ledbetter and Besant have set him up to be, he now feels he's becoming. He's fulfilling this purpose. And I think this is an important part of what's allowing that unhappiness to pass. Yeah.
He's losing the weight of expectations, I guess?
think that's true. I mean, we're psychologizing him here, but, I relate insofar as, right out of undergrad, I was going to be an artist, whether it killed me or somebody else. And, you know, I went through 10 years of like trying to be that artist until finally I could look around and say, oh, I don't fail at this consistently anymore, you know? And now, of course, things, you know, I have a very different attitude. I'm just like content that this is my role in life and that I'm in it. But I think Krishnamurti was very much struggling that a role had been set up for him that he wasn't occupying.
Yeah.
But, and that's such an internal thing. Like, this is not about him, you know, going up on the mountain, giving a sermon and everybody claps for him. It's an internal feeling, right? Like, I would say, you know, the comparison with me again is that like 5 years into my career as a professional artist, like I established my own studio and I opened up a storefront and I have a stage and I have all these students, and a lot of people who I was teaching would have said, oh yeah, Rob, he's an artist. But I didn't feel that way, right? I had to meet certain milestones until I felt that I had achieved this status. He, I think at this point, meets that milestone. It's a personal feeling of knowledge. Now he knows, he's seen something. And I don't want to ignore the supernatural presences here, because as we go forward with Krishnamurti, the supernatural he tends to downplay. He becomes very Buddhist in this way. The Buddha famously, you know, was asked what happens when you achieve nirvana, and Buddha said, "Don't worry about it." He doesn't want to answer these questions.
Yeah, you'll figure it out when you get there.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's not your problem right now.
No spoilers.
Yeah, right. And I think Krishnamurti goes to the same place, but in the initial, you know, experience, the Lord Buddha is with him. Lord Maitreya is with him, Kuthumi, and he sees them, and there's these supernatural presences guiding and with him. And I think he always believes this, honestly. If you read his biographies through and see these moments, these glimpses, I think for him, that inner truth is that these supernatural beings are ever present. But like Buddha, he views them as a distraction. So he will get quieter and quieter about them as he continues. Anyway, back to the story. It became regular practice for Krishna to enter a trance state for about 90 minutes, beginning at 6:30 in the evening. So he's got a schedule. Habit is important. If you're raising children or becoming, you know, an international guru, I don't know what to call him, because he wasn't a guru. He refused being the status of guru. An international teacher of spiritual things. Got to have a schedule. This went on for months and then ceased for a stretch before it started again. Whenever anyone asked him about this process, he would put his head down and go unconscious.
What? Like start meditating or like go to sleep? What do you mean?
Yeah, it's like, Rob, how'd you come up with the plot for this show? Conk.
Just instantly like that?
Yeah, yes.
What? That's weird.
His mind, I think, refused to probe the process. The process was too much. So he just checked out.
I wish I could turn my brain off like that.
It's a cool skill.
Shit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not a skill, right? It's just what happens. Like, it's unintentional, but he's not like, okay, I'm gone now. Don't want to talk about that.
Fair enough.
Who was that girl you were with yesterday? Nope. Oops, I passed out. The specialness of the experience at Ojai prompted Harold Bailey Weaver to purchase the cottage on behalf of Krishnamurti and the society with Dodge's money. So
Who's
Dodge, Madam Dodge, Mrs. Dodge is Krishnamurti's benefactor, who's giving him
$500.
Yeah.
Oh,
she's
right.
providing the salary.
Right.
So Harold Bailey Weaver is a character who sort of like gets all up in her business and is able to finagle the purchase of this cottage. The property was placed in a trust, and this is significant. Krishna did not want to become entangled in the direct ownership of anything. This is his entire life. He owns nothing. He never owns any property. Anything that's purchased for him goes into the trust. In the Austrian Tyrol, which is a geographic location, the process began again. He's in Austria. Helen, another young woman, if we remember from last time he had a crush on Helen, was with him, and he asked to have her by his side just as he'd had Rosalind with him at Ojai. The presence of American women seemed to help him, although Helen was frightened by the torture that Krishnamurti seemed to go through each night. I think that's fascinating. He liked having an American girl next to him while he was going through a spiritual It is weird.
Especially too, because at that time in India, it was like if you weren't born Indian, right, you were like super low.
Yeah. These white girls are not on the caste system. Yeah. But he loves having these white girls just hanging out next to him, holding his hand, waiting for it to pass. Yeah.
Interesting.
It gets more interesting.
I don't know what to say about it, so
I don't want to spoil anything, but it does there are complexities with the white girls ultimately, but not right now, not today. Lady Emily wrote, he suffered terribly, or rather the body was twice sick. On Tuesday, he was in great pain all day and was again after every meal, keeping nothing down except his evening milk. It has been very awful to hear his cries and sobs. So it's terrible. It's like peyote or something every night. He has a peyote experience. His whole body's racked by, pain and nausea. In November, more than a year since these episodes began, Krishna and Nitya returned to Ojai, where they reunited with Rosalind and were placed in a new house. The compound is growing. Within 2 weeks of their arrival, Krishna's process started again. Nitya wrote to Ledbetter regularly for advice, worried for his brother's health and sanity, but Krishna's experience was entirely foreign to Ledbetter, who had about nothing like it, knew nothing about it, right? He had never experienced anything like this. Ledbetter's like, tonight I'm going to visit the masters, and he lays down and off he goes. But Krishnamurti is violently ill, and he's sweating, and these girls are like holding his hand, trying to comfort him, and he's pushing them away, and he's grabbing them, and he's having these wild nights. And then he's having these incredible visions or whatever. So Ledbetter's like, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. In confusion, he wrote to Besant, Ledbetter that is, all of this is so utterly opposed to what I myself have been taught. This is what Ledbetter said about his experience, yeah. He didn't deny that it was supernatural, just like, he was like, I don't know.
He's like, do I need to open my worldviews a little bit?
As if they're not open enough.
Yeah, right.
They may be too open. Besant reassured him and was confident in Krishnamurti's success, and so Ledbetter more or less ceded oversight to Krishna to her. So Annie says, it's going to be all right. Don't worry about it. And Ledbetter says, okay, he's yours now then. Krishna suffered from a dull ache. My wife does that most on Monday and Wednesday mornings when she gives my son to me. He's throwing the laundry all over the house and shoving oyster crackers in his mouth, and
your son,
the sink is on, and she's, here you go, I cede oversight to you, she says, until such time as you shall deposit him at nursery school. Krishna suffered from a dull ache that now lasted through the day and went through a stretch of over 2 months with the process visiting him every night. I mean, if this was today, he'd be in and out of hospitals all the time.
Oh, yeah.
He'd been gifted a blue Lincoln convertible by a Swedish benefactor, which he loved. He loved to drive it, but instead of transferring ownership to someone else, since it was such an expensive gift, insisted on transferring ownership. So he didn't own the Lincoln, but it was his. It was his toy. In February, after 110 nights of the process, Krishna had a feeling a force joining together between his eyes, and a vision of a flame, and his Lord and Master appeared before him. The Lord Buddha passed a message to Krishna and Nitya, channeled through Krishna himself. So Nitya didn't hear it, but, we wrote it down. You have come out of it well, though the entire preparation is not over. The part that has been done is done well and successfully. We are sorry for the pain, long and drawn out, which must have seemed to you apparently endless, but there is a great glory awaiting each one of you. My blessing be with you. A theosophist and medical doctor, Mary Rock, met him in Ojai and was the only medical professional to witness these episodes firsthand. Because, again, he didn't go to the hospital. The only record of her opinion was recorded secondhand through Lady Emily, who wrote, "We also wanted a confirmation that we are not entirely mad. She was tremendously struck by the whole thing, and we are not entirely mad." So the doctor said, wow, this is weird. Something's going on here, and it's maybe magic. So, cool. But he's okay. Rock, it seems, considered at least some of what Krishna was experiencing to be mysterious. Krishnamurti published a long prose poem over several issues of the Theosophist magazine called The Path that came out of this time period. And I'll just read you a little bit of it. Like the smile of a sweet spring, the path beckons me to walk on it. And like the angry and treacherous ocean, it cheats me of my momentary happiness. It holds me as I fall in blissful embrace, making me forget the sorrow and the suffering of the past, kissing me with the kiss of a tender and loving mother, whose only thought is to protect. And when I am in complete oblivion and ecstasy, as that of a man who is drunk deep at the fountain of supreme happiness, it wakes me with a rude shock from my happy and ephemeral dream and pushes me roughly to my aching feet. So, not a walk in the park.
Doesn't sound like it.
No. It's sort of like these beatific visions of, spiritual truth that are grabbing him by the short hairs and, winging him around. Yeah. It's kind of torturous. In May 1924, Nitya and Krishna were reunited with Annie Besant after 2 years' absence. They met her in London. They traveled around with her on a lecture tour and then carried on to Germany for a Theosophical Society conference. The conference included the third international gathering of star members, that is to say, people specifically devoted to Krishnamurti's work, and the first star camp at Oman. So camp number 1. So we're gathering all the followers of Krishnamurti in Oman, in Europe, to meet him and learn from him, all that good stuff. Krishnamurti emphasized feeling over thinking in these lectures, teaching his followers that they had to feel passionately and not merely understand the path. He encouraged his female followers, including Helen, to travel to Sydney to work with Ledbetter, who now had a powerful reputation for developing occult initiates. Krishnamurti told the women that while they may want a marriage, children, and a home, they couldn't have those things and serve the master. I think this is very interesting. This is what I said when we get back to the American Girls.
Mm-hmm.
He has, to a large extent, sublimated or cut off sexual feeling. And yet, I think in his relationship with these women and attempting to, pull them into this relatively narrow spiritual path, maybe I'm Freuding him a little too much, but he's sort of creating these quasi-romantic relationships. He's saying, in a certain sense, be faithful to me. Don't leave me to create this domestic situation. Domesticity itself is a distraction from my path. Mm. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why is he sending them to Ledbetter?
I was about to say, I thought they didn't like when they visited Sydney.
Yeah.
Ledbetter, he
and it was just the women that he sent there?
So he's very concerned with these women. I mean, there's a logic to it insofar as they're so significant to his own occult journey, right? But yeah, he's sort of possessive of them, in my opinion. That's how I read it anyway. But Ledbetter, why Ledbetter? I mean, first of all, he's unlikely to... Ledbetter could care less about the equipment those girls are bringing with them.
Okay.
But... and so that again, is my suspicion about the possessiveness. However, in Krishnamurti's defense, Ledbetter is also regarded within the Theosophical Society as the person best able to open your third eye, to give you that, push you into that occult space of knowing. So I think that's why he sends them to Ledbetter.
What is he telling the men?
What men?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I mean, there's no young men really other than Nitya around Krishnamurti. There's older men who are, his benefactors and stuff, Warrington and these sort of characters, but not very many younger men. It's mostly young women and Nitya and actually older women too, Lady Emily and Annie Besant, and yeah. From the end of August until the end of September, his process returned, ending on the 24th. This is 3 or 4 times he's now had these months long episodes of pain and revelation. Nietzsche's health was unsteady. The brothers were on their way to Ojai when he coughed up blood again, but he didn't tell Krishna for fear of disrupting their plans. The wet heat of India would not be good for him. At Ojai, Krishnamurti held morning meetings, speaking to groups of 40, and in the evening they played volleyball on an old tennis court.
Okay.
I hate to say this, it's a terrible comparison, but Keith Raniere loved to play volleyball. Keith Raniere of Nexium played volleyball with his followers. Yeah,
weird.
Krishnamurti is nothing like Keith Raniere, but it is a weird. Like that's instantly what I thought of when I thought of this, spiritual guru out there, just like spiking that ball in people's faces.
That is silly. Also, I was thinking like you wouldn't really want to play volleyball
if you have
on
tuberculosis.
A tennis court. Oh yeah, that too. Oh yeah, I forgot that his brother has tuberculosis and he's coughing up blood.
Maybe he's just watching.
Okay, well, that's fair, but I also didn't think the brother was playing. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
you wouldn't want to dive onto a tennis court, would you? That would kind of hurt, wouldn't it?
No, I don't think it's like beach volleyball. Nobody's getting out their bikini. It's like... Yeah, I think it's more genteel.
Okay.
Yeah. Krishnamurti lightly spiked it into your face.
Okay.
In the meantime, Krishnamurti's ministry was growing. In Australia, land had been purchased in Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, and Tasmania, and gifted to the Stars Trust. In Sydney, the organization had erected a 2,500-seat amphitheater. In April, he traveled with Nietzsche to Sydney to stay with Rosalind near Leadbetter's Manor, so the girls are now hanging out in Australia. A great big communal living space that he'd presided over for 2 years. Leadbetter, that is. So we're in the Manor of Leadbetter in Sydney. The girls are there. It's in this enormous living space. We're in proximity to a 2,500-seat amphitheater. I mean, this is a serious operation.
Yes. I'm confused, though, about these girls still. Okay, so you said that he was going around to the different star meetings to meet his followers, but his followers are only young women?
No. I guess I'm talking about his close, like his disciple-y figures are...
that people like that went with him everywhere.
Tend to be, like middle-aged or older men, and then young women tend to be in his, like, entourage.
Okay.
But then the Order of the Star is anybody. This is like all kinds of different people.
So he's not ordering all of... Sorry.
No. No, you're right. He's not ordering everybody. It's just his girls.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like that makes a little bit more sense. I thought you were just like, he was like, all women who believe in my message need to go to Leadbetter. Yeah.
He's just,
like,
Diana Ross is telling the Supremes it's time to go to Sydney. It's only a couple of women. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, where are the men? What is he telling the men to do?
I mean, there are men for sure. So to clear that up, maybe some folks were confused about that too. The Order of the Star is men and women, and there's older women and younger women and a few older men in his entourage, but I don't think there's really very many younger men. People like Raja, who was supposed to be his rival, end up being part of his entourage. So over time, men accumulate, but there's fewer of them. Krishnamurti attended Leadbetter's liberal Catholic services and tried to be respectful of them, but they repelled him. I mean, imagine that. Leadbetter struggled to understand Krishnamurti and speculated that his process had been the result of the Lord Maitreya activating spirili in his brain, like those that had once been active in the fifth root race.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know what any.
I mean, Leadbetter's just Blavatskying him. He's trying to get Krishnamurti somehow inside the Blavatsky lore because everything that's happening with him is quite odd. Like Blavatsky and all her acolytes, none of them went through anything like these months-long, painful spiritual revelations. And yet, that's what's happening here.
But he believes it. Leadbetter believes that he's actually doing these things. He's not like, he's just doing it for attention or whatever. Leadbetter
is too spooky not to, Okay. He's way too mystical and, clairvoyant to deny that the reality of this. He just can't, he doesn't have a framework for it because he's been operating within the Blavatsky / liberal Catholic framework his whole life. And Krishnamurti, although he is the child of Blavatsky, in so many ways. Like, he's that third generation figure straight down the line from her to Besant to him. He doesn't seem to be fitting at all in what's going on. Okay, Krishnamurti, the last time he was in Sydney, had remembered Leadbetter leading a very small group of mentees, mostly young men, and he was somewhat bewildered, by the way, in Sydney by the sheer size of Leadbetter's occult school in Sydney, which now had dozens and dozens of students. So Leadbetter's, the two of them just can't make sense of each other. Leadbetter's doing these crazy Catholic masses, and Krishnamurti's sitting in the back like, hey, all right, this is fine, I guess. And Krishnamurti's going into these trances, and Leadbetter's, I don't know what your deal is. And then Krishnamurti's looking at Leadbetter with all these students and learning his weird occult ways, and neither of them can figure each other out.
It's really funny just that they kind of started together. Yes. He's like, this is my guy.
Yeah.
And then it just couldn't go further apart.
I don't know what happened to this kid. I don't know what happened to this old guy. Blavatsky had suggested in The Secret Doctrine that there were 4 stages of initiation leading up to arhatship, but then 3 more among the arhats or wise ones, since the newly initiated arhats required some teaching. Did you follow that?
No.
7 total, 4 for beginners.
Yes. 4 stages of initiation leading up to arhatship, becoming an arhat. 3 more once you become an arhat to get all the way up the chain. So 7 steps, as John's saying.
Okay.
Sorry. All right, now's where things get weird.
Okay.
Right now.
If they haven't been weird enough, they're gonna get weird now. So, the following year, Nietzsche's declining health kept Krishnamurti from the Oman Star Camp. This was a fateful and unfortunate absence, so the camp in Oman is becoming a regular thing. And the Order of the Star meets, it's 1925, without their leader, without the visionary. He doesn't show up. Now, tips for all you visionaries out there. Don't let your followers meet without you, especially in large numbers, because it gets weird real quick. They start coming up with their own visions, and it doesn't go anywhere good. At the 1925 camp, George Arundale, who had been the boy's tutor, that was his original role in all this drama.
The one that didn't think he was very bright.
That was a different guy, but yeah. The guy who didn't think he was very bright, we let him go. We replaced him with George.
Okay.
He suddenly channeled a message containing the names of those selected to be Krishnamurti's apostles. Remember, Krishnamurti, he's not there at all. Yeah.
What? Did he pick myself, my really good friend
my
over
girlfriend,
there? Yeah,
my
yeah.
dog.
This guy who gave me 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
That guy over there. He's
I like your vibe.
yeah,
You're in.
he's cool. I like his shirt. So,
Like the cut of your jib.
so there were meant to be 12, of course, because these are apostles, but Arundale could only discern 10. And they included, as Savannah and John are saying, himself,
Of course.
Annie Besant, Charles Leadbetter, Wedgwood, who's one of the big shots in the liberal Catholic Church, also subject of various scandals involving young men and older men. Nietzsche, Lady Emily, who's the other second mother of Krishnamurti, and Raja Gopal. Raja was supposed to be the other magical boy. Yeah. Further, a world religion and world university were to be established with Andy Besant as rector, Arundale as principal, Wedgwood as director.
Whoa.
So these all come from his vision. And since there's nobody to take the microphone, right? The microphone's up there. There's thousands of people gathered in Oman.
Oh my God.
And Arundale's like, so the boy's not coming, right? I think I'm going to walk up there and say some things.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm of course,
No,
it's not
I know.
literally what happened, but
No,
it gives you the sense, right?
Yeah.
It's
Everyone
basically
else
what
should
it
be
is.
in charge.
Yeah. Yep. How can I take advantage of
And
this
also,
situation?
Krishnamurti was just like, man, I'm not digging Leadbetter's thing with all these students. Let's build a university. Like, this is something Krishnamurti will like.
And Wedgwood is the director, who is right up there with Leadbetter on the liberal Catholic madness, and Krishnamurti sitting in the masses saying, and I'm sorry, liberal Catholics, I know you listen to the show, I don't mean madness, I apologize, but from Krishnamurti's perspective, he's like, what is all this?
Yeah.
And now Wedgwood is running his world religion in school.
Yeah.
Incidentally,
that doesn't feel very genuine, is what
I mean, it could, I don't know. I think that humans have a remarkable capacity for self-delusion. So I would say, Savannah, it's possible this is quite genuine, but also quite suspicious all at the same time.
Yeah.
Arundale would go on to found a school in Ojai where Maria Montessori would spend 3 years teaching. That is a fun fact. The Montessori schools.
I was about to say that last name sounds familiar.
Yes. Montessori. You can send your kid to a Montessori school probably where you live right now.
Oh.
That's how popular the Montessori method is. The Montessori method is mostly about like letting children find their own like passion and stuff. There's like all these toys and activities around, and wherever the kids gravitate to, you sort of follow their lead that way. But Maria Montessori taught for the guy that we're picking on right now, who had the visions about Krishnamurti. She worked for him for 3 years. Nothing against her. But fun fact, Arundale had recently inherited a fortune from his aunt, which is convenient, and risen to the role of General Secretary of the Society in Australia. He had married the much younger teenage dancer Rukmini, Indian dancer, who he would encourage to revitalize Indian classical dance. She would, in fact, go on to great celebrity as a dancer. So knowing this guy is not a bad thing, unless you're Krishnamurti. Perhaps most sensationally, just after the camp broke up, Arundale claimed that he, Besant, Leadbetter, Wedgwood, Krishnamurti, who was not at the camp, remember, and 2 others had achieved the 5th level of theosophical initiation, adeptship. They had become adepts. They had only attained the 4th level just before the camp opened, and that was just days before they were named Krishnamurti's apostles.
Whoa.
Yeah, so this guy is quickly climbing to godhead.
I kind of hate this guy.
But, you know, he makes his wife famous in India, and Maria Montessori hung out with him.
His teenage wife.
Well, she's not a teenager by then, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
From day one, yeah. If we're going back, if you want to think about the past, Savannah.
That's what we're doing right now.
Podcast is about.
Not the whole podcast. We do interviews. Blavatsky had suggested, actually our last interview was with a guy who is obsessed with the past. Anyway, like even older past than me. Blavatsky had suggested in The Secret Doctrine that there were 4 stages of initiation leading up to arhatship. But then 3 more among the arhats or wise ones, since the newly initiated arhats required some teaching.
So there's like 7 total.
7 steps.
Okay.
So 4 steps to become an arhat, but then you're still not all the way there. You need to take 3 more steps. Leadbetter, who was the leading voice on all things initiation at the time Arundale made these claims, wrote in The Master and the Path, published that very year. So this is Leadbetter's opinion on how you ascend, how you become an adept. Leadbetter, who is the king of all this stuff, he says, and I'm dwelling again on the fact that Arundale said all these people, including Krishnamurti, had taken a 5th step to become an adept. Leadbetter said, the candidate who has passed the 4th initiation is spoken of in Buddhist terminology as the arhat, which means the worthy, the capable, the venerable, or perfect, and in the Eastern books, very many beautiful things are said about him, for they realize at what a high level of evolution he stands. The crucifixion and all the varied sufferings of which it was the culmination were employed to typify one side of this initiation, while the resurrection, with its triumph over death, represents the other side. This is step 4, and remember, Arundale and friends are on step 5 now.
Yeah.
So Christ and Buddha. Then if the arhat can cast off the desire for beauty of form, the desire for formless life, pride, the possibility of being disturbed by anything, and ignorance, they rise to the 5th initiation, the adept. The stage that we're on now, says Arundale. This is how Leadbetter describes stage 5. So he takes now the final step that makes him Superman, Sekha, as the Buddhist. Now, Leadbetter, let me remind you, Leadbetter's not saying he is this. It's Arundale who's claiming this for him and Besant and all these guys.
Superman above Jesus Christ?
That's what Ledbetter says. Jesus is, I mean, probably after Jesus' resurrection, he's now Superman, right? Okay. But at the crucifixion, Jesus is adept.
Level 4, right?
Yes, he's level 4, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's not even adept yet. He's just worthy.
But these guys at level 4, like they've gone past a crucified Christ in their level of spiritual depth.
Good
so
God.
he takes now the final step that makes him Superman.
Talking about literal Superman, like
No. It's like a Nietzschean Superman. Because Superman doesn't exist. I don't think Superman exists yet.
Okay.
Yeah, Ubermensch. Yeah. It's a philosophical concept. Sekha, as the Buddhists call him, because he has no more to learn and has exhausted the possibilities of the human kingdom of nature. His will is one with the universal will, that of the one without a second. He stands ever in the light of nirvana, even in his waking consciousness, should he choose to remain on earth in a physical body. And when out of that body, he rises still higher into the monadic plane, beyond not merely our words, but our thought. Let me just go back to the list here real quick.
Superman.
They're only one step away from that.
No, they're there. They have achieved level 5.
Oh, level 5 is the Superman?
The things I just described are level 5.
Okay. I thought that was level 6.
And this is Arundale, Annie Besant, Charles Webster Ledbetter, Wedgwood, Krishnamurti, and 2 other guys are level 5.
Superman was invented in 1938.
So, yes, Superman plagiarized Charles Webster Ledbetter.
Sorry, but I was literally picturing blue and red stripe, like the superhero when you were saying that.
These very human people, and I love Annie Besant, and I even have some warm feelings for Ledbetter, and not so much for Arundale, but these guys are basking in the light of nirvana.
That's only step 5, but there's 7 steps.
Yeah, I don't talk to me about that. But
how much further can you go? Isn't nirvana where you're meant to end?
And yet, are these humans really like this, though, is maybe the question I'm asking.
No,
right.
But
Arundale's claimed to have attained this status along with the others, including his teenage wife, who had risen quickly through 3 initiations in 3 days.
Yeah, right. And is a celebrity.
Well, she was gonna be, but
sounds like a nepo baby.
Yep.
She just suddenly now she's an adept too. Poor little 17-year-old Rukmini is an adept as well. This is a really bold claim, is what I'm trying to say. You are Christ reincarnated. You are the Buddha in his state of enlightenment. You know all. The human world has nothing to teach you. You are beyond humanity. You're Superman.
So does anyone have anything to say about this? Or
it's coming. It's coming. It also challenged
Because they don't have do they have quick ways to send a message that this has happened? He's gonna get he's gonna get a letter and be like, what? 2 weeks later.
Yes. All the glass shatters in Krishnamurti's house. Yeah.
He said what?
So let's talk about Krishnamurti.
Was Arundale the only person at the conference?
No. There were the other guys there. Maybe some of these characters
Besant
were there
was
too.
there
I think it's possible. Yeah, at the Omen camp.
You'd think that they would have said something.
Besant rolls with it. To her discredit.
The show must go on. It's like improv, right? It's like you can't say no, so you have to just keep going with what is said.
She's conflicted about it, I think, but she rolls with it. But let's talk about Jadu's perspective. It challenged Krishnamurti, who was fated to become a vehicle for the divine Lord Maitreya, but not divine himself. Let me say that again. Krishnamurti, Ledbetter's prediction, and the way Krishnamurti had always envisioned himself, was that a divine supernatural teacher would inhabit his body and teach through him. Not that Krishnamurti himself would become divine. But now Arundale was saying not only was Krishnamurti divine, but so was Annie Besant, so was his teenage wife, so was he. Mary Lutyens reports that Besant, who had given up her psychic sense, was somewhat shy about sharing Arundale's story. So Basant, I told you guys this earlier, but she like shut off the third eye. She said, I'm done with this occult stuff, Ledbetter. I have to save the poor. I have to save India. I have things to do.
Yeah, the politics.
So, yeah, you go do that magic stuff and
Right.
let me know what you find out while you're out there. I have things to do. So when Arundale comes back and is like, oh yeah, you were totally initiated last night. You don't know it, but you were there. She's like, no way to confirm or deny. So she's very shy about sharing this story. Krishnamurti is so shocked when he gets this story, as Savannah's implicating, that he asked Lady Emily to burn his letters from this period for fear that his intense criticism of Besant would be misunderstood.
Interesting.
So he starts writing furiously to everyone. Annie's off her rocker. She needs to get this under control. I mean, he's probably not saying that literally because he loves her. She's mom. But we get upset at mom sometimes.
Yeah.
And mom is not taking the reins. And he says to Lady Emily, get all the letters I wrote you and burn them because I don't want anyone ever finding out that I doubted mom to this degree.
Oh, but he didn't. So he didn't actually send them.
He sent him to Lady Emily.
Oh.
Yeah, he sent him to mom too.
Oh.
Saying
and
mom
then,
one has
and
lost
then
it.
burned it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and then he said to mom two, you got to burn my letters. What I said about mom one can't ever be public knowledge.
Then how is it public knowledge?
Scholarship. you can thank Mary Lutyens, who is Emily Lutyens' daughter. Do you see how that works?
Yeah.
She wrote the biography.
It's like,
Nice.
So
wolves
she had
have
some
ears,
inside
right?
knowledge. Yeah, she knew. Yeah, or Emily probably spoke about this. What are you burning there, Mom? It's important to remember that initiations took place on the astral plane, and so Krishnamurti and even Besant's participation could have happened in theory without their conscious knowledge. Their astral bodies could have been initiated. Arundale chalked up his revelations to a European master.
I feel like, but if you were on that high of a level, you would have to know that happened to you.
Right, Krishnamurti should have been aware,
Yes.
for sure. But Arundale is crediting now a brand new master the Count in Hungary. So he's not even resorting to Master Moria, Master Kudhumi, the traditional masters. He's now got a whole new master who's running the show here.
Who? Who said this?
This is Arundale. Back to Arundale.
Oh my God! Why is this guy still talking?
It is Master the Count in Hungary who inspired these visions.
Master the Count Arundale in Hungary.
But it gets better. So they set out on a journey to find him. Annie Besant,
say? Okay.
Arundale, his teenage wife Rukmini, and Wedgwood, the liberal Catholic.
Oh my God.
So these four, this is a movie we have to write. They selected the Count's secret location by pointing a finger randomly at the railway schedule. Because psychically, they're
Yes.
like dowsing for him, right?
But the railway schedule?
So
Okay.
wherever the rail would take them, right? So it's like you go to the Amtrak and close your eyes and like point at the board, and you're like, oh, it looks like we're going to New Brunswick. Wee. So they selected the Count's secret location. However, they turned back at Innsbruck, and afterward, Annie Besant said, the only sensible person among them was one who hadn't gone on the trip.
That's a banger.
Ledbetter wrote that Arundale and Wedgwood were now beyond his control.
Yeah.
Arundale, so everyone's like, whoa. Arundale was the only one making the claim that they had so risen, and in doing so was running away with Krishnamurti's Order of the Star into strange supernatural theosophical territory. I want to remind you, right, that Ledbetter articulated what the fourth and fifth stage of initiation looked like. So when he hears this stuff, he's like, well, obviously I'm not post-Jesus. Like, this makes no sense. So Krishna felt that Arundale's claims were cheapening the Theosophists' work and making everyone look ridiculous. We have been laughing a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People laughed a lot in 1925. Nietzsche was generally...
God, I wish I could go back in time and be there for that meeting. Like,
At
to
Omen?
be in that amphitheater listening to him say that. I want to see people's faces on the stage behind him.
I bet
being
it was
like,
shock. Yeah, I bet people were shocked.
Yes.
I want to be like outside Krishnamurti's cabin.
Yes.
I'll fly on that
so
wall.
right. Yes. Oh my god, that's probably one of the best things that's ever happened in history. Like, I don't think anyone's ever been that mad before.
Anyone who's attained spiritual peace. Right? It's like the Buddha flying off the handle.
It's like Jesus in the temple.
Right, yes, Jesus in the temple, throwing shit around, knocking stuff over. Brother Nietzsche was generally healthier in Ojai, but he came down from a serious influenza before Krishna was set to leave for India. Came down with a serious influenza. Krishna believed the masters would prevent him from going if anything serious was meant to happen to Nietzsche. Krishna had continued to express skepticism of Arundale's promotions, and Arundale told him if he assented to his message, the master would protect his brother. If we didn't like Arundale before, he's now saying, Krishna, I know you love your brother, and he's dying. The masters will protect him if you just tell everybody that I'm right.
Whoa. Oh my god. How did this man get into this story?
He's been around for a long time, but yeah, he did suddenly become very rich in the middle of all this. Yeah.
And that's how he ended up getting the power to talk at these places?
It helped his ascension, but he was also a direct tutor of Krishnamurti. So,
right. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that was him.
There was a violent storm as they passed through the Suez Canal, and Krishna received a telegram that Nietzsche had died. Nietzsche had been a crucial part of the psychically channeled plan Besant and Ledbetter had relayed to Krishnamurti. He was supposed to be his helper, his assistant, his go-to. And Besant and Ledbetter had told him as much. Nietzsche's death proved pivotal in breaking Krishna's faith in the masters. Krishna came to believe that Nietzsche's spirit was perpetually with him, and Mary Lutyens, his biographer, also said this. She was a first-hand witness to Krishna's life as a daughter of Lady Emily, as I was saying, and she was a friend of the world teacher Krishnamurti. She wrote that she could feel Nietzsche's presence had shifted to Krishnamurti, making him softer. So when Nietzsche died, Krishnamurti sort of became both of them. Yeah, it's very sweet. Maybe it's supernatural, I don't know, but it's very sweet.
And Krishnamurti was not there when he died,
he
right?
He was on his way to another theosophical event, and he had left Nietzsche behind because he wasn't well. So he received the telegram while he was at sea.
And that's how he found out he didn't sense anything necessarily.
No, it wasn't magical, no.
Okay.
But ever afterwards, he sort of became an extension of his brother.
Well, that's kind of interesting. You could read that in a way that says that Nietzsche became a helper to him. Yes.
So yeah, the prophecy. And John, this is gonna. We're wrapping up today, but in our next episode, this becomes such a key core question. I think that Krishnamurti wrestles with his whole life. To what extent does he break the prophecy, and to what extent is he just living it?
Yeah.
The loss of Nietzsche and Arundale's scheming would push Krishnamurti irrevocably away from the organization that had given birth to and nurtured his career as a spiritual guru. And when we return for our third installment of our history of Krishnamurti, he makes that break with the Theosophical Society. And all the events we talked about today, the scandals and all, are important to the backstory of that change. When we come back, we'll also get into Krishnamurti's very significant influence on India, Indian politics and Indian life. I read a couple of biographies. The Mary Lutyens one really reflects on the European-American side of Krishnamurti. The other one is by one of his Indian basically disciples, and so focuses on Krishnamurti in India. So, John Cook.
I'm really excited to see what happens with the Order of the Star. That was the cult specifically formed in the Theosophical Society for Krishnamurti.
Yep. Yeah. Savannah,
I didn't expect the story to go like this at all.
I knew you would like this part, though, right?
Yeah, it's insane.
You were like, why am I here, Rob? Why did you pick me for this episode? Now you know. I adjourn and declare closed this meeting of the alchemical actors till such a time as we get together and do it again. And when we get together and do it again, I, your host, Dr. Rob C. Thompson, will complete my history of Jiddu Krishnamurti, and then we'll do one more episode where we actually figure out what the hell he taught here on Occult Confessions.
Hey, Rob. I just had a vision that me and Savannah are now Supreme Hierophants as well.
Ah, damn it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, totally.
You guys were totally
I feel
there.
it.
Yeah.
Was I there?
Yes.
Oh, man. What am I now? I'm still the Supreme Hierophant.
Yeah, but we're also just
You're
Supreme Hierophants as
Hierophants
well.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I have to write some letters.